Hey all, it is June 30th, 2025, and today Tunguska Guitars turns 1 year old. This is incredibly exciting. I can't believe how fast the time has gone. I can't believe how much we've learned. Everything from, the bits of starting the business, the paperwork, the filings, doing taxes the first time, to scrambling to make one of every one of the models that we've come up with. That's 9 guitars. Technically it's 10, might be 11, but we did 9 to get ready to do our first guitar show, which seemed like a really important step. If we're going to do this, let's get the stuff out there and see what people think. So we did, which meant we had to do things like make sure our website was good, get business cards, put QR codes in the business card, make pages for those QR codes to go to, buy tablecloths to put our guitars on, buy stands to put the guitars on the tablecloths on, make a banner so people could see us from a distance. Things that, when we first started, it just didn't really occur to us because all we were going to do was make guitars. But there's more to it than that. So let's go in, find Mark, and talk about all of that.
We went to a guitar show.
We did.
We took a few things with us.
We did. We took a lot of things with us. And the process of getting to the point of going to the show.
Holy moly.
My God, the amount of scraping and sanding and finishing and, oh shit, that didn't work.
And polishing more.
And hey, Mark, here's a guitar. I know it's only 2 weeks from the show. You can get all 7 of these done and wired and harnessed and.
It was 9 guitars and it was 9 fret jobs. Literally 9 complete level and dresses on each of these guitars. Pickups had to be made.
Yeah.
Electronics harnesses had to be constructed.
And this all made perfect sense when we started the idea of, hey, let's do a show. You were like, hey, we should do some guitar shows. There's a couple coming up, and it was like, well, that first one's in like a week, so I don't think we can make that one. But June, no problem.
This was back in I think it was around February. I
Probably,
mentioned this to you.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, well, let's go check out the Cincinnati Guitar Show, which we went to, and we were pretty jazzed by because we saw other builders that are around the same level that we're at.
Yeah.
And it was just really good to see other builders there. It was good to see even people we knew there.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, shout out to Justin.
Bridge Builders.
Yeah, Bridge Builders. He's super. I mean, of all the builders we saw, he was the one I was most nervous about because I've heard of him. Yeah, you know the guy, but I never met him before. I knew about him. I was like, oh,
exactly.
This guy's gonna, he's gonna be the autist, and we have the goatee and the beret, and we will approach him, and he'll say, "Away, peasants!" And he was
he's a very gentle teddy bear of a dude. Yeah, super nice.
And honestly, talking to him is what really cemented in my head that we had nothing to lose.
No.
And only things to gain. Even if we got there and everybody like pointed and laughed, at least we'd know something. My expectations of the show. Let's just say what I experienced there was drastically different than what I expected.
What did you expect?
I expected, there to be, okay, let's say, how many vendors do you think were there?
Oh, gosh.
70, 80?
At least, I was going to say 100.
Okay, let's say 100 vendors. I would have thought half of them would have been custom builders.
Oh, no.
I think there were maybe 10, maybe a dozen. And the other thing was, the clientele was about 30 years older than I expected them to be.
Out of all the people that actually stopped and talked to us, I'd say average age was probably in their 50s. But we saw some young people too.
Yeah, there were some. I just kept thinking, like, if this type of thing had been easy to get to when I was in high school, me and my buddies in the band, oh my God. Sure. But this was 2+ hours away from Chicago in the late 70s.
I grew up going to guitar shows.
Yeah.
I was 18, 19 years old and going to guitar shows. I still have guitars that I have purchased at guitar shows. Yeah. I still have pedals that I purchased at guitar shows. It's a culture.
It was a very, very wonderful experience. And I've had so many people say, so man, how many did you sell? I say, oh, we didn't sell any. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, 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 no. That really wasn't the point.
We generated interest. We were exposed to the general public, and they wanted to see Keith.
Yeah.
They wanted to look at the Victor or Jazz. The Galileo, huge hit.
Yeah.
People were very interested in that in the space.
The funnest part to that with that for me was so that most of the people were going counterclockwise through our room.
Kind of were.
So we were near the end. So everybody had been seeing relatively normal stuff around. And then the first instrument they saw was the GL1 bass, which is not that crazy.
It's kind of understated, but
It's
at the same
understated.
time, it's
and then
okay.
the Jazz, or no, the Jazz was on the other side.
The Kaiju
The
was
Kaiju
next.
was next, which we thought was going to be the one because it was bright blue and everything else is very,
Absolutely.
very, very subdued.
I thought it was going to be the hot rod of the show.
And they walked past that, and they walked past that. And then you could just see this look on their face. You know, they had the look of, I'm walking through a guitar show. I'm walking, oh, these are cool guitars. Then they'd see the thing, they get to by the time they got to Keith, they were like going like this. And when they did get to Keith, they got this weird shit-eating grin would start to creep up their face. And everything from that side over to all the way to the Galileo was just weird, you know, compared to everything else. They were just like, what's this shit?
This thing, I mean, it's just, this is ostentatious. This is weird.
It's absolutely weird. So anyway, but it was great. You know, the folks that played stuff, I thought we got some really, really good feedback. But then the weird thing was when you went and posted the thing on Reddit.
Oh my God. I had no idea at all the kind of impact and traction that would have. And I'm a luthier. I like talking about guitars, so I was naturally part of the luthier subreddit, and I've been very prolific there. I make a lot of posts. I read a lot of posts from that subreddit. And after the show, I just decided to post a couple of photos from the show and say, how'd we do? And over the course of the next 3 days, my inbox exploded because the thing got 27,000 views.
Yeah.
And I was astonished. Now, bear in mind, I didn't post this like in an effort to try to promote the company or anything like that. I just wanted to say, hey, our company's been around for going on a year now. We went to our first guitar show. How did we do? And people gave us very unfiltered opinions.
Yeah.
People said, not my style of guitar, but your guitars look good.
Yeah.
Other people were like, I cannot believe that blue guitar. That blue guitar is absolutely what I
Yeah,
want.
yeah, and what was it? I would say if of the we had got about 80 comments, I think 80 some comments,
Something like that, yeah.
something like that. Let's say half of those comments said, "Wow, that guitar was cool. I wish I could get it." Half of those were just about the Kaiju. That, in a nutshell, is why when my friends would say, "Oh, I'm sorry you didn't sell anything," I don't care. I don't care. I didn't expect to really.
Yeah.
It was like if that happens, that'll be cool. But I just wanted to see what happens when people see this crazy shit that we're doing,
Yeah.
and get it in their hands and play it. And do they like it? Does it sound right? Does it play well? And I'll tell you what, man, the two dudes that played the basses,
Holy moly.
just was like, wow, they sound like that.
Like I can play bass. I play bass in a band with you.
Yeah.
But there was a couple of players that came along to the booth who picked up Galileo, for instance, and they could play fretless bass. I could play fretless bass a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm okay at it, but these guys could play fretless bass, and they just like did things.
They did that
on this bass.
They did the wow.
They made the moi sound,
Yeah.
and I was happy to understand that this bass can make the moi sound, and it can. Let's talk about the prep leading up to this this show. So how much wood was it in terms of, do you measure it in cubits, board feet?
I want to measure in cubits.
I mean, people used to.
This room this whole area was full of wood.
I remember walking into this room at one point in time, and this entire corner was stacked about knee-high with wood.
Yeah.
And it was not cheap wood. At some point in time, we came to the decision that we had to basically make at least one of everything.
Yeah.
So we effectively made that plan. You bought the wood for it. I bought parts for it, and we started going to town. But really, it was it was when we started going to the guitar shows, and we saw that gave us a deadline to
Yeah, which was, I think, really important because I know me.
Same here.
And I will allow myself to what do they call it, analysis paralysis a little bit. You know, and there were some, you know, just some weird setbacks, having to, you know, retool the electric in the garage was one of those things where it's like I could have probably worked around it, but fixing it means I don't have to.
To do things at this scale, you had to have working solid electric.
Yeah.
You had to have ventilation in
Yep.
the form of your heating and AC, and you had to have good dust collection.
Yeah. Boy,
That's a game changer.
The day that I ran the planer with the door shut and there was no sawdust because the dust collector just captured all of it.
It was just like, where'd it go? It's magic.
So yeah, and you know, to be honest, I also discovered that my sinuses were not the disaster they were last year this time before I had that.
I wonder why.
Can't imagine.
Okay, you do the big stuff. You do the sawing. You do the cavity routing. You do like a lot of the shaping of the actual wood, the necks, things like that. I do the micro work. I do the nut. I do the fret work. I do the electronics. I make the pickups for our guitars. I do the setup and get everything ready. Final polish, things like that. Dust collection on my side is a much more scaled down version of what you've got. I use a shop vac in my shop, as you've seen.
And it works.
It does just fine, hooked up to my belt sander or like whatever I've got going. If I'm doing something on my drill press or on my belt sander, it works just fine. But the sheer amount of dust that you generate, that's a whole nother kit and caboodle.
This is 1 year we've been doing this.
It's gone by so fast.
Yeah.
And there's so many changes that have happened in terms of not just the design of the guitars, but because the design of the guitars hasn't radically changed, but the techniques that we're using to make them has changed radically.
Yeah.
Very big changes.
Mostly from a how do we do this in a repeatable fashion?
Yes.
How do we do this as quick as possible without sacrificing it being handmade? And we've discussed this, with the pet robot with the CNC machine and what does that get used for? Now I don't have to spend 3 hours hogging out something with a drill press and
Precisely.
a router. So while it's doing that, I can start carving a neck, or it's allowing us to move faster. Because I'll never forget the time that you were like, "Hey, you know what, Ken? If we could build 200 guitars in a year, and we'd make X amount," and I'm thinking, dude, last year we built 3.
I'm telling you, man, we can get to 200.
I think that the learning that we've gotten from figuring out what the processes are, and what the priorities are.
Yes.
When should this thing happen versus that thing? When should, if we're gonna do the finishing, when do I drop the booth in the garage? Which means at that point I probably ought to stop making a ton of sawdust. I mean, we've got dust collection, we've got a scrubber, but
yes, I agree. And you've got your paint booth reasonably well filtered out, but at the same time, the finish is a critical step in the process, and so it's probably a really good idea to have all of the cutting, grinding, sanding done for everything before you set up the booth.
Yeah, we're in such a weird and unique situation here. You've got your full-time gig.
Yep.
I'm teaching at UC as an adjunct, plus I have money coming in from the way I manage my retirement because of things. I'm not retired yet, but there is some money. So we're both in a situation where, in theory, our household needs are met by income that exists, which is giving us the ability to do this and try to get it started. I mean, I do not for a half a second discount how lucky this has turned out to be.
Yes.
There's the whole conversation that I think is missed in a lot of videos like that, and I don't want to gloss over it here, is understanding the luck of the situation. And as a person starting a business, if I had the resources to pool into this, even though they're meager. I mean, we started this for, I think if we were to total everything we spent so far, we're talking maybe 40 grand.
Yeah.
And
oh my God, look, that's a pittance.
that's nothing.
For a
I mean,
small business.
if you were gonna
It's
start
nothing.
if you were gonna start a franchise of any kind, we're talking that times 4. So I get
Easily.
it. This has been a thing, but it's also kind of points to the fact that it doesn't have to be a huge lift. Because I was lucky about the way the finances fell together, I was able to get some tools that I normally wouldn't have. But if I was really, really talented, highly talented luthier, and there's plenty I follow that do things with chisels and back saws and very, very, very tiny little things that cut wood, and they do beautiful, beautiful work, and I'm ashamed when I watch it. You could do it with a friggin', a pair of chisels and a saber saw and some sandpaper.
Sure.
You could do it, but yeah, I think my learnings over the past year have been to one, to allow myself to say this is my job. That has been very hard to do, and I still have.
That's a huge part of this, though. Like actually putting yourself in the position where this is no longer just your hobby.
Yeah.
It's a real job. It's what you do for a living, and having to apply disciplines, like work disciplines, to what used to be just your hobby.
Yeah.
That was a big deal for me. In the 3 or 4 weeks leading up to the show, having to wind pickups as fast as possible, having to learn to do fretwork in a much more efficient way, treating this like it's your job, that's a whole different beast.
All the years we've been doing this before last June 30th, it was,
It was a hobby.
It was my hobby. And so I'll be sitting here, working out in the garage or sitting here at the computer doing design work, and there's this voice in the back of my head going, you're not supposed to be doing this right now. You're supposed to be doing a thing that doesn't exist. You're supposed to be doing your job. You're supposed to be doing the thing to support your family. You're supposed to be doing and it was, I mean, I was having nightmares, and I would wake up exhausted because the entire night was me dreaming about things that were about me not doing the thing I was supposed to be doing.
Really? Wow.
It was bad.
You're going to have anxiety in places that I do not, because I've got a full-time gig.
Yeah.
So you're in a unique position here.
My day now consists of bursts of work, and sometimes it's not anywhere near 8 hours in a day. Sometimes it's 12 hours in a day. Sometimes it's 3. But there's rarely a day that I'm not doing some kind of work. Yeah, I can't think of the last day I totally took off, and it's not because I'm trying to be, ooh, look at me, I'm the business guy, and I'm doing my thing. It's just what I do. It's sometimes I get an idea and it's like, oh, I might as well go work on that right now. It's a Saturday, I got nothing else going on. It's a Sunday. Same thing, I work a little every single day. So I think that's an important thing to allow yourself to do, is work when the vibe is hitting you. I mean, sure, we had a deadline for the show, we had to get stuff done. That got as close to old job vibe as I've had in a while, but even then it didn't feel like that. This feels totally different, and it's quite amazing to me, and I really like it. All of a sudden, I'm going to say since about a month before the show, it's that you're doing something you shouldn't be. You are doing the wrong thing. What's the matter with you? Why aren't you looking for a real job? Has faded a lot. And the past few days, now that we're past the show, and we are at this 1 year milestone. It's taken a year, but I think I'm finally realizing this is the thing.
This is your job.
And I like it. It's been a good year.
It's been a year of learning, that's for sure. Transition from being bandmates and friends, because you and I were like friends, and then we were bandmates, and then suddenly the guitar thing became a reality, and I realized that, we both wanted to make guitars, because that change in dynamic there's different conversations that you and I have now that we have to have because we're running a business.
Yeah.
And we're out to make the business successful.
Right.
And so having these tough conversations about, okay, number one, how are we going to split up profits? Number two, how are we going to pay for our tools? How are we going to pay for supplies and materials? And what are we going to do, once we scale up and we're going to hire employees? How are we going to farm out the editing of our videos? These are conversations we have to have that are like, they're not like friendship discussions, they're business discussions.
Yeah. And so far they haven't involved any kind of fisticuffs or bloodshed.
I'm surprised how many people actually watch this series of us talking about how we're starting a guitar company.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that these videos get as much views as they do.
Yeah, and it's heartening because it means there's a lot of people out there that are wanting to be, take their art and make it their passion and make. I gotta sound so self-help and awful, but it's lack for a better word. It's exactly the truth. I want to do the thing I love and make a living at it. In my bookshelf of my heroes, I've got Dave Grohl and Geddy Lee and Patrick Stewart. Adam Savage goes right here, and I started reading his book. Every Tool is a Hammer, and his first chapter is about permission, giving yourself, having somebody to give you the permission to do the thing that feels like you should.
Bingo.
And Adam Savage, if for some crazy reason you're watching this, thank you, man. It was huge.
No, I get it. I mean, I didn't really need anybody's permission, but I certainly got enough encouragement from you in particular in pursuing different things. And there's still some things that I have not gotten into yet that I want to get into, that I know I would be good at. Inlay. That's my next step. That reminds me, that's the other thing I wanted to talk about in this video. One of the things that changed about us is that we initially started off talking about how we were going to have like a budget line that were kind of like Strat and Telly knockoffs. And we've completely thrown that out the window.
Yeah.
That's done. We're not going to do it because how many other people do that? Yes.
Yeah.
And we don't need to do that. We've got something really, really special here that, okay, is only going to appeal to a certain number of people, but that's the person I want to sell to.
Yeah.
That's the person I want to make guitars for. Look. This is our base model.
Yeah, it is a base model.
This is a base model. If you're going to make this at scale, this is not a base model.
No.
Custom wound pickups, custom electronics that do all kinds of tricks, like high-end switchery, and the furniture on the guitar is all high-end. What kind of fretboard is this again, Ken?
It's a spalted tamarind.
Spalted
Because-
tamarind, also known as nightmare wood.
Yes. Well, there's that.
For the person that puts the frets into it. Still having malfunctions over that one. Custom fretwork. I mean, a custom cut nut. Everything about this guitar is custom. This is not a base model anything.
No, and
Fender can't make this for anything less than $3,000.
yeah, nothing that we built was made in a vacuum. It's not like all these ideas just popped into our heads and it's like, oh, I'm going to do this. I mean, the Mach 5, as much as I'd like to say that is an original idea, man, have you seen the St. Vincent guitar? It's pulling some strings from that direction.
Have you ever written a song and realized that maybe you might have ripped off a lick or a chord from one of your favorite players?
So I used to, when I was stuck for a song, I would think of an artist I like, and I would think about their cadence of lyric. I use Sting a lot, and I would write lyrics as if I was writing to one of his songs, and then let it sit for about 2 months. So hopefully I would forget whatever song it was I was ripping them off of, and then try to add the music to them.
I cannot tell you how many times I've seen you pick up a guitar and play this chord.
Well, yeah. I mean, in one room to my right, there is a brand new tumbler that just arrived in a couple days ago. It is the Rush 50th anniversary pint mug and the Rush mustard. Alex and Geddy, Neil, rest in peace.
Rush mustard.
It's actually quite good.
Okay, man.
They made it with beer, the beer they make.
You're a nerd.
It happens.
Yes.
It's not something I will ever deny. Well, anyway,
Yeah, we should wrap up.
dude, thank you.
1 year. Thank you.
1 year.
This has been super, super fun.
That has.
Let's make some more guitars.
Okay.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers, man.